records mean that whatever happened here occurred after the person died?
That's right. I don't think it could have happened any other way. From looking at the damaged area, it seems the bone had been shaved away using a tool, like a router.
A router? The only reason I would expect that to happen would be... That's right. The staff at USAMRID was using this bone for research. There's a good chance they shaved a sample from the bone in order to study it.
Yes, you need small fragments for the high-detail analysis. That's likely what happened to this bone.
Wait a second.
What's wrong?
The researcher at USAMRID was infected while he was studying this bone. Using a router on the bone would cause particles of pulverized bone to be ejected in the air. If the researcher came down with the disease after performing that procedure, then... abnormal decrease in bone density with the lack of cartilage. What we can deduce from these two events is... Yes, both these conditions indicate a weakening of the skeletal system. Furthermore, I believe that both these processes happened while the person was still alive. If these conditions allow us to infer anything, it would be that this person was severely debilitated by the time of death. I need this bone analyzed, little guy. Be careful with it. There's a danger of infection.
Oh, can you warn me a little sooner next time? Give me a moment, please. Let's see here.
Well, did you find anything?
No, I've checked it out, but there's nothing especially unusual about it.
Is that so? That's odd.
What's so odd about that?
This is the bone that Chloe swallowed. When she did, the same black focus that the patients in the quarantine zone had showed up inside her body. According to what Gabe said, the serviceman who had been investigating this bone So, in other words, the pathogen lurking in this bone is... Right. This bone carries a virus that triggers the hemorrhagic fever.
A virus? This is just a skeleton. A virus requires living cells from its host in order to multiply. So, this virus not only survives the host's death, but can continue within a skeletonized corpse.
Can you really say that such a thing is impossible?
But...
That's not like you. Calm down, little guy. Everything we've seen up until now has taught us something. That there are diseases out there in the world that defy all our understanding and what we think of as common sense.
All right. Let's assume that it is a virus. That doesn't mean that all the mysteries have been solved. How does this virus live inside this skeleton? And why aren't we infected with the hemorrhagic fever after we've handled the bones?
I really can't say at this point. It's possible this person was infected with the virus. Or perhaps the skeleton had been contaminated after death. In any case, we'll need to continue investigating this in more detail.
Right.
However, I can explain why you and I haven't contracted the hemorrhagic fever.
What? How?
Well, according to what Gabe was told by the assistant secretary, that's right. They concluded that an airborne infection was impossible. This was because the infection wasn't spreading within Usamarad. If that's the case, it's unlikely that the virus is dispersed through a respiratory vector.
Then how does it spread?
Well, in Chloe's case, the foci were located in areas where... Indeed. The black foci only existed in areas that the bone fragments were in contact with. Taking that into consideration, this virus's route of infection is... Yes. In other words, the virus only has a limited means of transmission.
I see. That explains the cat's case, at least. But what about the Usamarad researcher? I highly doubt that he'd be chewing on bones.
Good point. There must be an explanation for how that other serviceman was infected as well. That's right. Now we're starting to see how the serviceman at Usamarad was infected as well. The virus rests within that skeleton. The route of infection is... Yes, it's when it comes in contact with a mucous membrane. Reaching a mucous membrane within the mouth or body causes the virus to infect that person. But there's no way that a researcher would lick or swallow a bone. However, the Usamarad staff did collect a bone sample for their research. In order to obtain that sample, the researcher... Right. He used a router to shave away a portion of the bone.